Terry was my best friend. So every day it just get harder and harder.
The father of a 6-year-old disabled boy found dead last December at this Clinton Township condominium complex wants justice for his son.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a little boy who was disabled and needed extra care. But instead of being given that, he would instead be left under the supervision of someone his mother was told not to have him around at all. This is the story of Terry Adams. Terrence, or Terry Allen Adams, was born on October 16, 2015, to his father, Gary Adams, and his mother, Ashlyn Bethel, in Clinton Township, Michigan. The little boy had been born with CHARGE syndrome, which is a rare genetic condition that affects several parts of the child's body, including their eyes, nerves, heart, nasal passages, genitals, and ears. Children diagnosed with this condition have unique facial features and a combination of symptoms, but every person with the condition is affected in different ways. In Terry's case, the syndrome had left him unable to speak, and he was blind in one eye. Additionally, the little boy couldn't swallow, meaning that he had to be fed daily through a stomach tube. But despite his condition, Terry had overcome many obstacles, such as learning to walk and partially seeing. He was described as being a happy and active little boy. He loved playing with his iPad and learning new things daily. Terry additionally had a little sister whom he loved playing with. Hey, cutie! Sometime in late 2020, Terry's parents split up, and he began spending the weeks with his mother Ashlyn and the weekends at his father Gary's home. A few months later, at the beginning of 2021, Ashlyn met and began dating a new man, 19-year-old Hunter Locke Hughes. Almost as soon as Hunter came into Terry's life, things with the little boy began to change. He began acting differently, and his family started noticing that he would be returned to his father's home with concerning injuries. Between June and December of 2021, Child Protective Services were called at least 6 times regarding abuse allegations while Terry was in his mother's home. It would be reported that the little boy had multiple serious injuries to his body, including black eyes, many bruises, and a broken arm. Terry's father, Gary, also started noticing that as he drove his son over to his mother's home, the little boy would begin crying and protesting. He did not want to go.
This is why I don't like bringing him back home. Every time we around the block, he is screaming, crying. He obviously do not want to be here. Something going on at his house, or what?
Terry's family members weren't the only ones noticing injuries on his body either. One time, his teachers at school had noticed that he had a large clump of hair missing, looking as if it had been pulled out. They had contacted Child Protective Services several times as well. But Terry's mother, Ashlyn, always had excuses for his injuries, which mainly consisted of her blaming Terry for harming himself, or Terry's then 1-year-old little sister for causing them. There were also some moments that were caught on Ring video doorbell footage that showed the volatile environment that Terry was being put in while living with his mother. In one video, you can see Ashlyn having what looks to be a complete meltdown in Terry's room, while the little boy just lays quietly in the corner on his bed.
What can you
In another video, again, Ashlyn seems to be having a mental breakdown, while Terry's little sister just wanders around the home unsupervised. Finally, in August of 2021, Terry would be removed from his mother's home after he was rushed to the hospital. He had bruises on his head and a serious injury to his head as well, which was confirmed to have been from blunt force trauma. Following this incident, Terry was sent to live with his grandmother, but only for 30 days, because after that, Ashlyn was granted custody of her son back again. And the only thing that she had to do to get Terry back was take a parenting class. Just 3 months later, on Thanksgiving of 2021, Terry would be brought to the hospital once again. This time, he was covered in scratch marks and had a black eye. And once again, Ashlyn would lose custody of him. But it was only for a short period of time once more, because she completed some parenting classes and gained custody of Terry back. Upon reuniting the little boy with his mother this time, Child Protective Services did put a child protection plan in place. In this plan, it was stated that Ashlyn's boyfriend Hunter was not to be around Terry. This was because it was believed that he was the only one that was hurting the little boy. Something I'm not entirely convinced about after seeing the videos of Ashlyn completely lose her mind around the children. But I don't know. The thing is, every time that Child Services was said to have gone out to Ashlyn's home and checked on Terry and, his well-being, they would contact the mother at least 15 minutes before they arrived to let her know that they were on the way, which meant that Ashlyn had plenty of time to get her boyfriend out and get things in order. Now tell me why. Why would any organization meant to protect children ever tell a parent ahead of time that you were coming to check on that child's well-being? Then, on December 28, 2021, Child Protective Services would make their last visit out to the home where Terry lived with his mother and, unbeknownst to them, his mother's boyfriend, Hunter. The reason why this was their last visit was because just a few hours later, Terry was being rushed to the hospital, where he would then pass away. Now, earlier that day, Terry's mother, Ashlyn, had to go into her job at Domino's. So she decided that she was going to let Hunter watch Terry and Terry's 23-month-old sister. Ashlyn's grandparents, who normally watched the children, were sick at that time, so she had made the decision to let 19-year-old Hunter watch them instead. According to Hunter, as soon as Terry's mother had left the home that day, the little boy became very upset and began crying and vomiting. He had gotten sick all over himself, so Hunter had filled the bathtub to clean him up. Then once Terry was in the tub, he vomited again. So Hunter took him out, wrapped him in a towel, then placed him on the couch to watch TV. Following that, Hunter left the room and went into the bedroom to call Ashlyn. He claimed that he had had his eyes off of Terry for no more than 6 minutes when he heard the little boy's younger sister screaming from the bathroom. Hunter ran in and found Terry unconscious and on his side in the bathtub. He was under the water, so Hunter quickly pulled him out and called Ashlyn. Before he called 911. When he called her, she instructed him to immediately call 911, and so he did at that point. Hunter then performed CPR on Terry until the paramedics arrived. But unfortunately, the little boy was dead before they even had a chance to try and save him. And Terry looked as if he'd been dead for quite some time, as his jaw was so tightly clenched shut that they were unable to open it. Regardless of Hunter's claim that Terry had just been in the other room watching TV prior to him finding him unresponsive, the first responders had discovered that the TV was off when they first arrived. 6-year-old Terry had at least 30 different bruises to his body. About 20 of these were to his head, mouth, and neck. On the back of his head, the bruising was the most severe, in the same spot that it was found that Terry had a brain bleed. 3 of his teeth had also been knocked out, and both vomit and water were found inside the little boy's lungs, meaning he had likely asphyxiated on the vomit. Terry's cause of death was officially determined to be from drowning. However, how he had gotten in the bathtub was unclear, so his manner of death was listed as undetermined. Authorities wanted to speak with Hunter again at this point. During this interview, he would admit to holding Terry's body underwater, saying that the little boy did not like getting clean, but he needed to get the soap off of him. According to Hunter, though, he had never held Terry's head underwater, just his body. He explained Terry's head injuries away by saying that he must have banged his head on the side of the bathtub as he was trying to hold his body under the water. Though he didn't think that actually did happen, it was just a possibility. He insisted that he had had his fingers behind Terry's neck to hold his head up the entire time he'd been doing this. Hunter also said that while Terry was conscious while he was in the bathtub, he quickly fell unconscious when he took him out. So the story doesn't really make sense much at all. But it wouldn't be until 4 months after Terry's death that Hunter would be arrested. He was then charged with felony murder as well as first-degree CA.
The defendant was arraigned on several charges, including homicide, felony murder.
This is a felony punishable by life without parole.
Yes, sir.
The defendant is accused of the unthinkable.
The defendant is alleged to have held a 6-year-old disabled child under the water, which caused the drowning, which is the causation of death.
In court Friday, the defendant's attorney requested a bond for his client, who he says has no prior record.
I think a cash surety bond in the amount of $50,000, 10% would be appropriate. We, of course, have no objection to others and no contact with the witnesses.
But the prosecutor's office advocated for something much different.
Held without bond pending pretrial.
After hearing both sides, the judge made this clear.
I am going to set the bond actually in $1 million, cash surety only. If bond is posted, I am going to require house arrest, GPS tether.
In January of 2024, Hunter would go to trial, but his story had now changed. Again. Hunter's defense was making the claim that Terry had wandered into the bathroom on his own and drowned in the tub accidentally. But it wouldn't matter what his story was in the end, because Hunter Locke Hughes would be found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and first-degree CA. So he was guilty of purposely abusing or hurting Terry. However, the jury only found him guilty of a lesser charge of manslaughter instead of murder. That doesn't make sense. Hunter would be sentenced to 3 years and 7 months for his manslaughter charge, and 7 years, 6 months for his charge of CA. Both are to be served concurrently or at the same time. He was also given credit for time served, which was nearly 2 years. So, Hunter has approximately 5.5 years left to serve at this point. That's it. For killing a disabled child. Rightfully so, Terry's family was not happy about the sentence that Hunter was given, and they called it a smack in the face. They were additionally upset that Terry's mother, Ashlyn, had never been charged in regards to his murder, even though she knew she was not supposed to have Terry around Hunter, and had either allowed or participated in hurting the little boy prior to his death.
Justice was not served here.
Just like with CBS, with everything.
We fought this fight before Terry's murder.
We begged them. We begged CBS.
We had multiple complaints that open cases. Ashlyn Bethel had 5 open CPS cases. She was not allowed to have Hunter there. We know that he was being up until this murder happened.
Even the hospital said so.
And so because we couldn't prove it and he was murdered that day, we knew that there could be a situation where he didn't get life in prison. And we came here like knowing that it could be 25 to 30 years, but this is a smack in the face.
It's a smack in the face.
It's a smack in the face.
This is ridiculous.
It's a smack in the face for this judge to...
That baby suffered.
He suffered. And the autopsy, the medical examiner, that he had over 30 internal wounds that day. It wasn't just
to the head.
And then Hunter has the audacity to get up there and still deny what he did. And that judge, Viviana, what if that was her child? What if it was her child or her grandchild that was murdered? I'm sure that she would not be feeling the way that she did.
Speaking of Terry's mother, Ashlyn, she would give a victim impact statement at the sentencing, and she would say, "Terry was everything. He was taken from us just as he was growing into his quirky, goofy, innocent self. The opportunity of what Terry's future held, his God-given potential, was taken from him. We will all miss that crooked smile and silly laugh. Terry was such a funny and affectionate boy. Before the age of 2, my daughter lost her brother. She was robbed of his love. I put my entire world in the hands of someone who I thought I could trust. It will forever be my greatest regret. How do I ever trust myself with my own judgment ever again? This will always be a struggle trying to move forward with me and my daughter's life, a burden I should never have had to bear. But she put herself and Terry in that position. No one else. Terry's father, Gary, would make his own victim impact statement in which he would say, "Terry was my entire life. Although Terry could not speak, we shared our own language, and I know how we were feeling all of the time." Then, referring to Hunter, Gary said, "Through all of his challenges, it hurts the most to know you decided to end his life in a horrific manner you took against him on December 28th, 2021. You not only took him from me, but your actions have impacted my entire family. And we will never be the same." Following the little boy's death, Terry's sister was placed into the custody of her grandparents. That's up until September of 2023, when a judge decided to give her mother Ashlyn another chance, and the little girl was returned to her. Her paternal family has since been trying to regain custody of Terry's little sister and have Ashlyn's parental rights terminated. Terry's family is also waiting for an audit to take place into Michigan's CPS. However, that keeps getting delayed over and over again. Terry's funeral was held on January 6, 2021 at A.H. Peters Funeral Home in Warren, Michigan. Well, thank you for listening to Terry's story today. This little boy did not get the justice that he deserves. The man who killed him was hardly punished at all, and his mother, who allowed all of this to happen, wasn't punished one single bit. It's outrageous. What do you think about this one? So, if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on those notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.